My name is Luis Proshnov, and I am the Program Director for the International Plant Nutrition Institute in Brazil. And today, I'm going to talk with you about phosphorus placement for annual crops in the tropics. Before we start, I want to recognize the co-authors for this paper, Álvaro Rezende, Adilson Júnior, Eros Francisco, Walter Casarim, and Paulo Pavinato. This paper was presented during the 2018 World Soil Science Congress, which happened in August of this year in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Okay, what is the motivation to talk about this topic? So some facts. Highly soluble P fertilizers tend to perform better when applied as granules in furrow to soils with pH values ranging between 6 to 6.5. Also, it is a fact that recently, in looking for better operational efficiency, many farmers have been challenging the above recommendation and are increasingly in some regions, especially in the tropics, they are broadcasting these sources of P on the soil surface before seeding. Based on these facts, this presentation discusses agronomic and environmental implications of such change. It's a very common question that I receive wherever I go in Brazil nowadays. The question is, may I broadcast P or may I continue to broadcast P? Because as I said, farmers tend nowadays to broadcast P because of operational facility. And they want a feedback from science to what they are doing. Now, it's funny that generally the question is asked with the hope for a positive reply. So I feel that they want me or they want others to say, yes, you can do that. You can generalize broadcasting P in your soils. But in reality, the answer is more complex than a simple yes or no. And again, we intend to discuss this in the next minutes. There is nowadays an intense debate with both sides in favor or not of just broadcasting P on the soil surface, presenting data proving their point. A long-term view may indicate that the widespread use of this practice, although, can lead to problems. This long-term view is not often the focus of those making field-level decisions. The farmer, the consultant, they are worried about the return they get for the investment in the short run. But although it should be the focus of those responsible for planning agriculture at region or country level, with a broader view in terms of agronomic and especially in terms of environmental implications. So we'll discuss both aspects related to the placement of P, the agronomic aspect and the environmental implications. Regarding agronomic aspects, the recommendation for the placement of soluble P sources in tropical soils have always tried to minimize the contact of the fertilizer granule with the surface of soil particles as a means to improve efficiency. And this is because there is great fixation of P in the soil. And if you mix this phosphorus with the soil, the chance for fixation, for turning P from available to unavailable forms is higher. So The research has shown that if you localize would be better. There are three main strategies that farmers apply in tropical regions in terms of fertilizing with P. Number one is the corrective rates. And this is your goal is to increase the amount of available P at once. This leads to very high amounts of P fertilizer applied. The cost is very high, and just very few do or use this strategy. The second strategy is maintenance. They apply phosphorus, generally localized, to get good yields throughout that year or in that specific year. And there is then number three strategy, which is a combination of both. That means you apply higher rates than the crops need in that year, and you correct the soil, you increase the soil P availability with time. But there is a new option, as I said, and this option has been used lately, which is the surface broadcasting of soluble P at rates similar to a maintenance strategy. So this is new, and we need to discuss this. In my opinion, there is no general rule, and it's not just my opinion. It is also the opinion of my co-authors. We published papers about this already. An essential step is to understand the available P status throughout the raw soil profile. And for that, I am going to concentrate on this table, which shows the availability of P in three soil management scenarios. Let's suppose the same scenario, scenario A, natural ecosystem, no fertilizer P applied. Scenario B, P fertilizer applied on the soil surface. Scenario C, P fertilizer applied in furrow in a well-managed no-till cropping system. So you verify that here you have the soil depth. In scenario A, of course, you have low P availability. This is very common in the tropics, and plants will not develop well if you have this condition. In scenario B, which is the fertilizer P was always applied on the soil surface, that means broadcasted, you would have a concentration of phosphorus from 0 to 5, and then very low amounts of P available below 5 centimeters. And situation C, or strategy C, when the farmer applies phosphorus localized inside the soil, there is a trend, and here the results show a better distribution of soil P throughout the soil profile. Now, it is very important to note that plant roots do not develop well if there is no available P in that specific part of the soil. So I want to show you that the possibility for plant roots developing throughout the soil profile is much higher in management strategy C as opposed to management strategy B, simply because you do have more available P inside the soil in the different soil depths. So it is our opinion that depending on an interaction of factors, mainly soil P availability through the soil profile and climatic conditions, that three things can happen, most especially the first two. In many experiments, if P is applied localized or in furrow, the results show better performance for plant development and yield than if P is broadcasted. And this is exactly because if you do not have P in different soil depths, plant roots don't develop If you have a year with lack of water, then you have a stress for the plant development. And if you apply P in furrow, then the probability of root development, more water for the plant, leading to what? Leading to higher yields. So this explains an interaction between the situation of soil P in the soil profile and climatic conditions, that in some situation P in furrow will perform better than P broadcasted. Now the second situation, which is also very common, maybe even more common than the first situation, is that you don't have lack of water, so it doesn't matter too much if the plant roots develop through the soil profile or not. Even if the roots are concentrated just on the soil surface, if there is no lack of water, you apply in furrow or you apply broadcasted, no problem. The performance will be the same. Now, in some very specific situations, and this is very rare, P in furrow or localized may be worse than P broadcasted. But as I said, seldom happen. We should not pay attention too much. So what I'm saying is that really both things can happen depending on the interactions you have. And this explains why one group sometimes is saying, I am correct, you see, there is no difference. The other group is saying, of course, there is a difference. It's because of the interaction with water stress and basically because of the climatic conditions. Now we turn to the environmental aspects. So first of all, agriculture in general and pea fertilization in particular are among the factors influencing eutrophication of water. And we do have a problem of eutrophication of water in many regions of the world. And we know that fertilizer P, if not well managed, can increase eutrophication of the water bodies or the water supplies. Now, with P broadcasted, with P on the soil surface, soluble and particulate P will be more susceptible to reaching water reservoirs than by runoff, I mean. So you apply P on the soil surface, you have an intense rain, you have some of this water going through the soil surface and carrying P, soluble or particulate P, to the water bodies. So local research is necessary to establish the potential risk of the different methods of P placement to runoff. And this aspect of environment, people don't discuss too much in certain countries or certain regions. They concentrate just on the agronomic results, but it's something that we need to pay attention because it can come after the farming community in the medium to long run if we have problems of eutrophication. Now, this figure is just to show that even in a situation where you have a soil that is flat, topography is not so bad, even in this situation, if rain is too intense, you can have some runoff in oxysoils or even other types of soils in the tropics. And the amount of P that can cause environmental problem or eutrophication is not very high. So even if you have just a little bit, it can cause already the problem of eutrophication. Now, that said, the authors of this presentation, they decided to explore or to give you some ideas, some general guidelines for the placement of phosphorus. There are several. Let's just start by new areas. So if you are opening a new farm, a new area for cultivation, if possible, broadcast and incorporate as to raise the levels of available P. Because you will get a better effect sooner if you have more available P in the soil. Again, the amount of P you have to apply in this case is high, the cost is high. If you can do it very well, very good. If you don't, then you go to another management strategy, would be to apply the maintenance levels and increase the levels of available P in the soil with time. Now, increasing soil P with time. In this situation, we recommend that you avoid broadcasting. Because if you want to increase, and especially you want to increase the soil availability of P in the soil profile, it's good, it's necessary that you apply P in furrow. This will lead to more P throughout the soil profile. And this is what we want because we want more root development. Besides, we want to avoid the environmental problem. Soil topography. In general terms, soils with sloping topography should receive P in furrow, because in such soils, the risk for P runoff is very high, causing eutrophication in the water bodies. So in this situation, the suggestion is always apply P in furrow. Now, soil profiles with P stratification. Our opinion is that the higher the risk for water stress or lack of water, and the more sloping you have in the topography, the greater the requirement to apply P in furrow. So it's a combination of factors here leading to a decision how to apply your phosphorus, which depends on the situation of P stratification throughout the soil profile. We continue with soil profiles without P stratification and with sufficient available P in different soil layers, up to 25, 30 centimeters, then, in our opinion, you may consider broadcasting P, applying P just in the soil surface. The other suggestion that we give is that you alternate the application or the placement. That means you don't need to localize or broadcast all the time, every year. You can split your property, your farm in different zones, and you can use different types of placement. You can rotate between localizing and broadcasting your fertilizer P. Also, ensure optimal seed and P fertilizer placement. Here we mean that there are modern equipments and techniques, and they are available so that you can really place the fertilizer where you want. This is something desirable. Now, pay close attention to the spatial variability of P in looking for uniformity. So when you are applying this fertilizer P, try to do as best as possible to really have a homogeneous situation of P application throughout your farm field. This is a very common problem because farmers don't pay so much attention. They don't really regulate their equipments as they should. And what happens is that you apply more P in one area, lower amounts of P in others, and you create a problem because you don't have an homogeneous situation of P availability throughout your farm field. Now, let's talk about do no till right. You know, many farmers in many regions say, or they say, okay, I do no-till. I don't do conventional. I always do no-till. But they don't do it right. So really doing no-till means crop rotation, means residues in the soil surface, which will lead to better water infiltration and protection against erosion and runoff. But as I said, it means you have to do crop rotation. You have to include certain grasses that have robust root systems that do help to absorb P. So again, not just say that you are doing no-till, but do no-till correctly. Do it right. Monitor the spatial distribution of soil fertility, which you can do. The most practiced way of doing that is to use soil testing, because knowing the spatial distribution, especially in terms of the soil profile in different depths, will help you to define the better placement method. Just want to stress a result regarding crop rotation, which is very important. It is from Crucial and collaborators, published in 2015, where they compared the availability of phosphorus in two situations throughout the soil profile. They have in blue the monocropic corn. That means always they had corn in the farmer's field, versus a situation where corn was intercropped with palisade grass. So clearly you can see in this figure that there is a clear trend for higher P availability when you intercrop the corn with the grass. And other results show also very clearly this effect. This means having grasses in your crop rotation should lead in the medium to long run to more available P throughout the soil profile, which will mean better root development through the soil profile and resistance in a certain way to water stress in years of lack of rain. So we are finalizing our presentation, but before, I just want to tell you about the 4R. Today we talked about the placement of phosphorus in the tropical soil, and this is part of the 4R. The 4R means, in terms of fertilizer application, applying the right source in the right rate at the right time in the right place. And what we have discussed today relates to placement, one of the 4 R's. It's not the only one, but it's a very important one, especially related to phosphorus. Also, before I finish, I want to just leave some messages with you. First of all, for those that are interested in taking information to the field. And I have 2 bullet points on this. First of all, in years with good water availability and phosphorus supply, expect little agronomic difference between broadcasting and in-furrow P placement. Keep that in mind. If you have something different, please let me know. I would be very interested, because this is generally what I see. Also, farmers should promote practices that increases the soil P concentration throughout the soil profile and not just the surface. As we explained, this is a very, very important practice to lead to better root development. But also take it to research and agri-leaders. And here we have one suggestion. When considering placement, we should not just focus on agronomic aspects. The environmental concerns are legitimate and needs our consideration. Water pollution and trade commerce are important parts of this issue, because if we have water pollution in a certain region, in the future, it may impair that people want to consume products from that specific region. So we do need research to define placement in light of these different aspects. So I'd like to thank you very much for attending and paying attention to this presentation. I hope the information is useful for you that act in practice in terms of farming, or you that do research. I hope the information serves some purpose to any one of you. And if you have any doubt, please do not hesitate to contact me. The website is brazil.ipni.net. You can look for my contact information there, and I'll be very pleased to receive your message and address your comments or questions. With that, thank you very much, and bye.